Hello, it's time. It's so nice to see everybody again. As you guys probably know, Linz and I are crisscrossing the United States, crisscrossing the world. And so we're having to do a few kind of solo missions until we have the pleasure of being at least close to a same time zone again. So this week's episode is going to be short and sweet. I'm obviously in an airport where I've spent most of my life this past month. And so this podcast is going to serve two purposes. One, it's a public service reminder that it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Please take care of yourself. Please make sure you've had your annual or biannual mammogram or breast screening. Please be conscious if you need enhanced screening, either a 3D or high resolution mammogram or an MRI. And please don't wait. I know I've put mine off, and a dear friend of mine just had a breast cancer scare, and it kind of kicked me into gear to get my studies, which now you can even do on the weekend. So I have a breast MRI next Sunday morning. And so we just need to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves, especially as we start to move into this time of year, which I now think the holiday season starts at Halloween instead of waiting even till Thanksgiving. So please do not forget to take care of yourselves. Please get your breast screening. As we unfortunately know, breast cancer is still the number one cause of cancer related deaths for women, and that over 95% of breast cancers occur in women. So please, please, please get your annual screening, take care of yourself, follow up, and don't put it off. Outside of that, we thought we would talk a little bit about travel and how to stay connected to our five pillars while we're traveling. I have been traveling every week of October, home for 2 to 3 days at a time, and then back on the road again. And it can be not just disruptive to our lives, but you can feel really disconnected to everything, home, friends, etc. So I wanted to go through each of our five pillars and talk a little bit about some of my tricks and some things I've learned from Linsly to try to keep me on schedule, to try to not disrupt my routine as much, and to try to keep me connected to those back at home. So I'm going to start with our favorite, which is move. Movement can be really hard, especially if we're in a place we don't really know. Maybe we don't have access to a gym. So I really try to prioritize keeping as close to the same schedule as possible. So if, when I'm at home, I tend to work out first thing in the morning. I try to still do that when I'm on the road. And if there's not a gym where I'm going or I don't feel safe being outside, one, please take care of yourself and be safe. Don't go in strange places alone, etc. But if you can, I try to get outside and walk or jog. It's a great way to explore someplace new. That's not available. Most places we stay have a gym. You can kind of take your routines with you. So if you plan ahead a little bit, you can kind of stay on track. And then lastly, what I've started doing for those of you that have joined us at Selly, I sometimes take my BFR with me, especially if I'm going to be gone for over a week. It's great. I can do it in my hotel room. I know I'm going to get a fantastic workout. And I can also double use the resistance bands with the BFR or without. So those are just some tips and tricks. I also always wear my exercise shoes when I travel because I really try to get my 10,000 steps in the airport. So I have found that that is like a really easy way for me to walk. And it's funny, you're usually like pushing a suitcase or carrying a carry-on. And sometimes I even just do some curls with my carry-on. Yes, it looks silly, but at least we're getting it done. So just remember, all movement matters. And I really do try to prioritize my same schedule, even when I'm on the road. Number two, sleep. This is probably the hardest. And I've taken most of this advice from Linsly over the years, is really trying to recreate my home environment. So cold, dark, quiet, eye mask. If you use one at home, earplugs, white noise. Many hotels now have a white noise machine, or you can just download it on your phone and play it. And I found that to be really helpful. The other thing I have started doing is covering up the alarm clocks so first of all, make sure the alarm is off on the clock in your hotel room. And then I often put a towel or something over it because they tend to be really bright and kind of helps prevent the math that goes on in the middle of the night when we wake up at 2 a.m. and start calculating how fast we need to get back to sleep before we have to get up in the morning for whatever meetings adventure is planned that day. So I have found that little trick has been really helpful. I think the next thing is fueling. Really, really hard to eat healthy sometimes when we're on the road. Couple things that I've started doing is picking up one or two protein drinks or protein milks in the airport to take with me to my hotel room so I can still put my protein in my coffee. I've also found a couple of brands of individually packed protein powders that I really like. So, our friends at Gnarly, they make a great one that I usually split one package per 2 days. And so it's really nice to be able to take on the road without having to pack big containers or plastic baggies full of stuff. Same with creatine, lots of easy ways to take your creatine with you now. Our friends at Momentous make a great single serving pack, which I'm just going for a day or two. I have found really, really helpful. Again, to not have to pack baggies full of stuff and scoops and things like that. So it's becoming easier and easier to take your supplements with you with less and less bulk. I think the other thing is just really, really focusing on staying hydrated. That's really sometimes a difficult one for me, especially when traveling. So, just always having a water bottle with me, I make sure I fill it up as soon as I'm through security and have that with me throughout the trip. As far as snacks, I laugh as I walk through the airport these days, and more and more healthy snacks are available. So I try to just buy a few and throw them in my bag because sometimes you just don't know when delays are going to happen, things like that. So it's great to have some nuts, some dried fruit, some seeds of some sort just in my bag with me. So when I get hungry, I tend to reach for that instead of maybe something that's not quite as good for me. And then I think the last thing when traveling sometimes is hard is limiting caffeine and alcohol and the right components. Oftentimes you're at work dinners or at social events. So I've really just tried to be a little more conscious of that. One, to make sure I stay on my schedule, and two, also to not impact my sleep. All right. And then moving on, and I think this is the hardest one, is staying connected. I've been traveling a lot for work, and sometimes it's hard to feel like I've stayed connected to family at home. So I try to make sure as much as possible, I actually talk to my family, not just a text, not just an email, but actually talk. And when they've done studies on this, it's fascinating, especially with daughters. When daughters talk to their moms, even over the phone, even if it's not FaceTime or video chat of some sort, there's an oxytocin release and a de-stress of both the mom and the daughter. And so I haven't, I haven't seen the research for boys. My guess is it's very similar. And so try to schedule, even if it has to be scheduled, even if it's just 2 minutes, a check in. And I know that's made a big difference for both myself and my kids, is that we know we're going to talk every day. And I really look forward to that time. And then I also think, along with this connection, is we have to set some boundaries, especially when we're traveling for work, on how much we're going to work when we're not at home, because it's really easy to never stop. And so please try to set aside an hour a day, and it doesn't have to be a consecutive hour, but that's for you to just de-stress, disconnect. And that can be part of your time outside walking or exploring, or do a little research about where you're going if you have time to do something that's unique to that area, or even just lay in bed and read a book or watch a show or do something that helps you disconnect, because sometimes those boundaries are harder to establish when we're so out of our routines. So that's all we wanted to share. We're going to have Lynn's back this up with her 5 favorite things, but we wish you all well. And please, again, take care of yourselves, get your mammograms, get your breast screening. Super important this month. It's a great reminder for all of us. And we'll talk to you next time. Take care.
Hello, wonderful people. I think you've heard Jen's intro, quick episode. So, we're in different parts of the country and the world. Right now, I'm in beautiful California on the Santa Barbara coast. We're doing a little bit of a college tour and visit of our eldest at his college in LA. And so I'm doing this right next to the ocean because it's such a great reminder to find little snaps of joy that you can find. And of course, this is a beautiful, not really easily accessible snippet of joy, but I love hearing this ocean behind me and seeing the sand, and I'd love to share it. I wanted to do kind of 10 things that I have been playing around with in the world of new news and running in the citizen scientist vein, and just give you a quick summary of those 10 and then a commitment to go deeper on a couple of them that I think are the most interesting. One is walking backwards. And so this might have already hit your screen in a number of contexts, but I've been trying to do it myself. And the science is exciting on it. And it's one of those things that falls in the camp of super important quadrant movement. and also easy to do walking backwards. So I've been seeing it a lot also on these last few weekends when we've been doing college tours, because of course the college guides have to walk backwards the entire time. So the three bits of science that are fun about it: one is it strengthens a different set of muscles and connective tissue than walking forward. So you're doing that 360 work on all of your body's parts. Two, great cognitive build, as you can imagine. The effort of trying to think about reversing your steps and then trying to stay on a path. It's just great brain building. But then three, it's relatively efficient. So the only amount of walking backward time you need to try to shoot for is about 10 minutes. So you can break it up into 5 2-minute sections, whatever works for your day or your flow. Or if you're like Jen or so many people right now in airports all the time, you know, a little bit of walking backwards just from a few gates is a benefit. So walking backwards is number one. Number two is fiber. I think we talked about this in, really briefly in a couple of episodes, and there's a ton of social media information out there about fiber maxing and all of that. But I'm a big believer in the why of fiber. The challenge for me is the how, just because I think I've shared in prior episodes, I just start to feel super bloated. I can't get that much in. I'm already struggling to get the volume of protein in. So to throw in another huge volume of food is a hard thing for me. So I'm finding success with fiber supplements. And there are a couple of them that I really, I mean, I've been tasting a ton, and I mean, they can taste like super disgusting. One I would say actually tastes what I think like wet dog smells like. So they're really a challenge, but I found three that I think are doable and effective. And you can tell if they're effective, right? You know, your body's working with you. One is called Monch. It's like Moonch. And it comes in a little like 3 fiber pouch. And for me, I've shared that my coffee has milk and chocolate in it, mocha. So for me, I take it right before I do my coffee in the morning. It doesn't taste horrible, and it helps kind of just slow the glucose metabolism for that chocolate sauce that I'm throwing in my coffee in the morning. Two, Metamucil, which I think, you know, we've always heard about. I think I thought grandparents took it, but Metamucil you can get in a drugstore, pretty cost effective, and it has relatively high fiber per punch, like, you know, 5 grams per serving. They also make travel versions. So that helps me when I'm trying to get on the road. I don't really want to carry a big fiber supplement container with me. So Metamucil is awesome. And then the third one that I've liked is called Thorn. It tastes kind of gross. But it is 7 or almost 8, I think 8 uh, uh, milligrams. Where's my Dr. Jim? And I need her. I need her for so many reasons of fiber per serving. So it's a super efficient one with your, you know, basically having to chug these things, choke them back. So you get a lot of bang for your chug. And what I found I do is I mix Metamucil and Thorn together to kind of blunt the taste. So that's my fiber idea. Third one on kind of quick wins is on the hydration thing. And I heard Jen mention this as well. I'm so excited to see that there are just like easy to refill water stations all over while I'm traveling, but I'm challenged a lot to remember my water bottle. Like I'm just having a problem with it. So what I found is that I do those aluminum water bottles when I buy at the airport, and then that helps me because they're lightweight and I can reuse them the whole time I'm traveling if I've forgotten my good hydro flask. Okay, four, on the sleep front, I know I've already shared I use the masks and the white noise, but similarly to, as Jen mentioned, I'm finding that when I'm in hotel rooms, there's all kinds of weird sounds that I haven't encountered lately when I've been traveling, but I'm hearing them a ton on these college visits, and we're heading out to Europe as well. So I'm going with quite loud white noise. And at first I thought that was going to make it hard to sleep, but it's fine. So just jack the white noise as high as possible. The other thing around sleep while you're traveling is my husband, Chris, has a real challenge with his back and soft beds. And so a lot of the hotel beds are super soft, but we found if you just kind of undo the sheet, pull the little fluffy thing that they've stuffed in there out, you can get a firm mattress. So if you have any of those back things, do that. The fifth one is on hugs. So we've talked about this before. 8 hugs, 8 seconds a hug is the recommended dosage for hugs. But I just came across some new science that says you need at least 4 hugs to be in survival mode. 8 hugs is target, and then 12 hugs is really thrival mode. So I throw that out there for my kids to say, get ready, more hugs are coming, and we're doing them, you know, for 8 seconds. 4, 8, and 12. So targeting 12. So more hugs to get that neurochemistry that makes things positive. The sixth thing that I found is I've gotten a lot of questions about NAD drips. And so I've reached out to some of Dr. Jen and my experts. And of course, Dr. Jen has this same take on that as well. But we wanted to have kind of a broader input set, is that the NAD supplements and drips could be a waste of your time and money from the perspective that NAD is absolutely important. It's like the battery pack for your cells. It's the energy or the charger for those battery packs. However, it's really hard for your body to absorb external NAD. So there is some more science out there about how to get that NAD in a way that your body can actually do something with it versus just putting it in your body and eating your fiber and getting it out. So that's one to maybe consider before spending a lot of money on an IV drip or a set of supplements. On the supplement front, we continue to be super fans of creatine and taking it into go packages. In addition, into go packages, the little protein packages that Jen was sharing, being able to split those across 2 days is a great hack. The other thing that I do is I have found beef jerky, organic clean beef jerky. I know we don't want to do a ton of processed meats, but it's another way to get that like little extra protein when you're out traveling or just in your day-to-day life. So, and it's one you can take on a carry-on because the other thing I run into trouble with is I can't take my amazing slate protein drinks on carry-on. So Chomps, CHOMPS is the brand that I'm liking. Tastes good, 10 grams. And so in terms of calorie cost and processed ingredients cost, it's relatively low with a high payoff of protein. Okay, the eighth one, and this is one that I'm just going to mention, but then say we're going to go deeper in a deep episode on this is there have been a number of really exciting studies on things that you can do that help you generate cell repair overnight based on what you're eating and what time of day. Getting nutrients in that are targeted specifically for cell repair and rebuild is another way to think about your whole foods paying off for you. And I'm just going to give you that little teaser now because I can't get into the depth of the science and the nutrition and the ingredients without a longer time chunk. So we'll table that one to come back with. My ninth one was I came across a really great, efficient 12-minute workout. And I love it because it's Helen Mirren. And I'm sure some of y'all also are big fans of her. I mean, she's like 85 or maybe 82, but she is in amazing shape. And she describes this 12-minute workout she's been doing for 40 years. And it's based on military workouts and I think for the MI5 or MI6. And it's accessible when you're on the roads. We'll link to it here, but I think it's a fun one because we're always trying to mix up our workout routines and still get effectiveness with efficiency. So that's a one to try. And then number 10, I would just say are two other quick science points to kind of update information that we've shared in the past. We've talked about cold plunges a lot. I think the science is coming more and more for female physiology, which is really exciting, especially because the science is coming out to say you don't need super cold, like 40-degree cold water and cold plunge, which is where when cold plunges started to get a lot of awareness, it was targeted that level of cold. Female physiology really does better at more like 55 degrees, which is still pretty darn cold, but it's not quite that like shivering cold that a 40-degree is. And there is a ton of upside that says you can get the benefits of it by just doing one time a week, 10 to 12-minute swim. So I have a dear friend who goes and swims in the bay every morning. She is a hero, but she really loves it from the community aspect too. But just doing that swim once a week would hit the target for the cold plunge numbers. So if you're trying to do it more in a cold plunge context, not accessible to go swimming, you just need to break it into 2-minute sessions, 2 to 3 times a week is the recommended dosage. So a little bit warmer than we thought and shorter time duration than we may have thought. And the last one is around alcohol. So alcohol is one that Jen and I talk a ton about. Certainly both of us appreciate a great Chardonnay. However, there is more and more research that just says none is best. And if none is not achievable, pulling it out in various time durations is a positive. So one of the hurdles I think a lot of people have is the idea of going with zero ever is just, it's not attainable. And so nobody entertains the idea of really reducing. But the science says even a day off, so you start to get a benefit. And then you get more at a week and more at a month and more at 6 months. And we'll link to the studies there. So if you want to play with different durations, you can kind of get your motivation around what are the benefits that you're building. But less is best. And, and many of the things we're trying to take out of our ingestion cycle toxins, it's maybe impossible to hit zero, but it's worth the effort to reduce. Those are my quick top 10. And I sure miss Dr. Jen and having her alongside me. She always makes every conversation better and richer. But until we can do that, we're loving trading thoughts with you this way. Cheers to thrival in your high half. Thank you for spending your time with us. We hope to see you again together side by side soon.